Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. This is Rose AJ with the Carnivore Connection, where we have heartfelt and soulful conversations. Y'all, today we have Miss Tammie. She's a primal health coach. And that's, I always try to remember how we connect, right? So some people, it's really clear how I connect with them or where I first found them. But Tammie and I are both primal health coaches, but she's with the Dr. Boz crew and the whole nine, which she'll explain. But also we connected on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. And she's just awesome. You guys, once you hear her story, I want you guys to reach out to her, share, like, subscribe, follow, whatever you need to do. And I've even joined her Facebook group. There's a lot of information in there, and you don't have to be a client at this time to join that group. Okay. So, guys, get this. Okay. You know, I'm the Carnivore Connection, right? I connect everything and everybody. But look, y'all, September the 14th here in Tacoma on Point Ruston, I'm doing a MEATUP, MEATUP here on Point Ruston. We're going to do a 5K walk at 10 a.m. And then at 11:15 a.m., we're going to go ahead and go across the plaza to Jewel Cafe to go ahead and have some more socializing. Maybe you guys can buy coffee. I'll be buying black tea and kind of enjoy the close of summer together. So that will be in the show notes as well. And then you guys know that I'm doing a beta test group starting on September 9th, Mondays on September the 9th. I will be running a beta test group, the Carnivore Connection group for women that are 50 years old and older that want to learn about the carnivore way of life or that need community support and coaching. You'll have 12 weeks for the price of $45. I'll get all your information and, kind of put everything together. And then in January, I'll roll out a package of monthly coaching that'll be available to you. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Tammie. We talked for quite a while before the show. So this is probably one show that I won't be raising my hand or interjecting because she answered all of my questions that I had. I was just so curious, you guys. All right, Miss Tammie, it's all about you, boo thing. Handle your business.
Well, hello, Rose, and welcome to the tribe, everybody. I'm glad to be here and honored to be sharing my story. It's a long story, but I'll try to make it quick. So I talk really fast. We'll try to get that in. I was a fitness instructor, personal trainer, medical massage therapist. I've been in health and fitness my whole life. Into adulthood, I was going to be the one that broke the cycle breaker for my family history. So I was on a mission when I had babies nice and young. I wanted to change the trajectory for my kids. So I took it really serious. It became my education. It became my work. It became, we owned a gym, a fitness studio, and everything like that, dance studios, stuff like that. So we've always been in that. I was going in to teach a fitness class at the ripe old age of 35, feeling good, on top of the world, 2 kids, active mama, all of the things. And I went to go into the dressing room to put my sports bra on and found a lovely little lump in my armpit. And from that day forward, that was on a Friday. It was actually my son's 13th birthday. And from that minute forward, your world kind of gets pulled out from under you. It was one of those, I don't know, I had that sense of my heart that I knew, I knew something. I remember crying and slithering down the wall. I got to get it together for a minute. So it was that moment. Long story short, breast cancer as a triple negative. My cancer had about a 5-year survival rate. I'm 22 years in, so I'm gonna keep punching on that one, right? So 22 years in on it, they did everything they could do. I had a horrible family history, so my oncologist looked at me. My mama had just finished chemo the week I started chemo. So we shared oncology, we shared doctor's office, we shared visits, we did everything. So my mama was at my side, but my oncologist had to look at me and he's like, the cancer I had, he said he was going to get me as close to death as he could get me and bring me back. And he did. So the cancer did not kill me. I survived my cancer, but the treatment almost did. So the treatments that they left me, I started out about 110 pounds, ended up about 210 pounds. I blew up like a blowfish. I was in heart failure. I had neuropathy so bad that if my pain meds wore off during the night, and I woke up to go to the bathroom, I would have to crawl to the bathroom because my feet could not hit the floor. A thread in my sock felt like a razor blade. A grain of sand in my shoe felt like a boulder. Neuropathy is one of the worst pains I've ever had in my life. And I've had mastectomy, radiation, chemo, everything. And neuropathy pain is maddening. It doesn't stop. It doesn't go away. It doesn't give you a break. So their only answer of trying to fix that problem for me or put a Band-Aid on it, I know now they didn't fix anything, was to start me through the medications and the Lyricas, the Neurotins, even the one, all the medications that diabetics take and things like that. My neuropathy was chemo-induced, but it's the same neuropathy that diabetics get. So you fast forward in that, they took me through the Lyricas and Neurotins as I blew up, as my weight gained, as I just kept getting worse and worse. They finally found and landed on Oxycontin and Dilaudid. So Oxycontin and Dilaudid, as much as I hated putting a toxin in my body, I took the Oxycontin and Dilaudid because I needed the pain to stop. I needed a break. I needed it to just give me a timeout. And the Oxycontin didn't make it go away, but it gave me a break where I could take a breath. So Oxycontin 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 18 years. Oxycontin was for the long-term pain. Dilaudid was for the short-term breakthrough pain. So if I needed to go to the store or needed to go pick up my kids or something like that, the Dilaudid would be that quick in and out medication. So needless to say, 18 years of that, my body is chemically dependent. My body is checking out. My body is not happy. I've never dealt well with toxins going in my body. I've never drank, never smoked, never anything. Health and fitness was my life. And I'm putting some of the worst toxins in my body known to man. My body did not respond well. Go ahead.
Okay, so in our pre-recording talk, I had asked you about the possibility, were you addicted to the 18 years of being on these medications? And can you share what your response was to me? Because I know that there's going to be some people in the audience that have that specific question or get stuck there.
Yep. Okay, when you're taking Oxycontin, most of us know the horror stories of it. Yes, it helped with my pain, but there are the horror stories of how addictive this medication is. I never abused it. I never snorted it, crushed it, took it any way out of prescribed. I either took it as prescribed or less than. I never abused it, never got to the end of the month and was 5 pills short or anything like that. So that wasn't a problem. But my body was still as chemically dependent on it as it was if I was a drug addict or whatever. My body would crave it. I was on a tough schedule of 12 and 6, 12 and 6. At 11 o'clock, I would be nauseous. I would go through withdrawal. I would break out into a sweat. My face would get flushed. My eyes would get yucky. My husband would look at me and he's like, it's almost time for your meds. And I would have to go through that withdrawal for an hour to wait for that time to come up. Because if I start taking it at 11, guess what's going to happen next week? Next week, I'm going to get sick at 10 and 1 at then. So I vowed to myself at the beginning of it that I will never take it faster than what I am. So I would spend that hour curled up in a ball. Like I just had to go sit still, lay down until I could take it. And then it would take about a half hour, 45 minutes to kick in. Then I could function again for a couple hours. But the medication it's as dependent. My body wanted it. It's still an addiction. So the beauty moving forward in all of this is I found Dr. Boz. I was in heart failure. I needed a pacemaker defibrillator put in. I was walking with a walker because my neuropathy was so bad. The medications were knocking me out. My ejection fraction was critically low. All of these things were kicking in enough, and I had enough medical background to know my body's going backwards much faster than it could repair and go forward. So go ahead.
So during all this time, Tammie, you mentioned that you have a son and that you're married. Do you have one child or more children?
Two.
Do you
I
have two children?
Kids and 4 grandkids.
Oh my word.
And 2 stepkids.
So, big family. I mean, in comparison to me, I'm one and one daughter. So how were you able to parent, be a wife, and if you were working during this time? Were you working during this time, this 18-year stretch?
No. Well, okay. I can't. Through the 18-year stretch, I've worked off and on. Being a medical massage therapist, I've been able to open up and off. I had private practice. One thing I would go, we live in a really small town. So I was able to go to a doctor's office and do some hours there. I'd go to the local gym and do some hours there. I just couldn't do anything prolonged that would be on my feet.
Okay.
So that's where I struggled with it. As far as parenting.
How did you carry on? Because, now I'm like almost 57, have a dog, a husband, a house, a job. And I'm just like, I'm tired.
Right.
So how did you do it? How did you manage?
Right back at that time, I was so active. I lived for my kids at that time. Obviously that's my ex-husband at this point, but I lived for my kids. When you're that scared and knocking on death's door, My kids were my inspiration, were my drive, were my everything. And you're a mama, you do what you got to do. And I didn't have the energy to do things for myself, but I made myself a parent for my kids. You know, it's that learning to love yourself, which I'm now learning to do, that I didn't do very well back then. But I loved being able to, I would push through to do the best for my kids. I would push through to go to, my daughter was a dancer. We traveled the she traveled to compete. My son played hockey. So those kind of things you do because you're a mama, you know, so you pull that mama straps up and kind of do it that way. But you still learn your balances and you learn what you can do and what you can't do. And I was blessed to have a husband that I didn't have to work back then. So if I could go in and do some massages or see a patient or something like that, you know, I've always done health and fitness, but it was in my office over a desk. So learning to do all this now online is my learning curve as a 58-year-old mama and nana. So this part's going to kill me if nothing else, but getting forward in it with the kids, they became my drive. And it just really was. So moving forward in that, when I found Boz, it was one of those, like I said, I knew I was going backwards faster than I could go forward. And to have somebody know that they had a step. I was a checklist person. I need a list. I mean, I got a list laying in front of me every minute of every day. I needed a list. I couldn't just say, go watch some videos, because these keto videos all went against everything I believed in. I was the crazy mama that drank fruit smoothies 24 hours a day, sent my kid to school with a colon cleanse in his lunchbox, and gave him, they gave him fruit baskets and stuff instead of candy and stuff for Easter, just those kind of things. We didn't have the sugar in the house. I was the crazy mom that made granola for the whole class, all those kind of things. But this went against everything I believed in, but I didn't have anything to lose. And what I was doing was obviously not working. So when I started to check my glucose, and I'm like, yeah, my glucose is like 120. Like, what the heck? You know, I'm eating fruits and veggies. Fruits are all good for you, so it's okay. No, it's not, you know, kind of thing. So it went against everything I believed in, but I literally had the mindset of, you tell me you've got an answer, I'm all in. I will jump in with both feet and never look back. And I will be grateful to that woman till my last breath. And I will be her biggest cheerleader till the day I die, because she's given me my life back. And slowly but surely, I went through the keto continuum, which I now coach, and I coach it in 3 sections. I do the beginner class, the intermediate class, and then the advanced fasting class. Learning those steps, learning to read my chemistry, and now learning to watch other women go through it and trying to build those fat-based hormones, trying to get everything working again. We've all been low fat for so many years. My hormones were all tanked and right. And nothing's working because we've starved our hormones for how many years. So it went against everything I believed in. But again, I didn't have anything to lose. Slowly started doing it. And I noticed, and Dr. Boz even shares the story of it, that during COVID, when we were all locked out of everything, I went to church one day, and our church was meeting outside for a night of worship. And we were there, and the kids were playing Frisbee, and I wore flip-flops, which never usually could have happened. I always had to have the diabetic tennis shoes, really nice and tight on my feet, squeezing on them, everything like that. And we went to this, and I wore flip-flops. The kids threw the Frisbee, and I jumped off the blanket to catch the Frisbee. And I have a picture. Stopped, and I started bawling. I looked down, and it was the first time my feet had touched grass in 18 years. And I'm standing there, and it's like, you know what? I'm okay. Like, it didn't hurt me so bad. It didn't kill me to do this. And I noticed, you know what? It's getting better and better. If I woke up and my pain meds had wore off, I would crawl to the bathroom. And I realized, you know what? I would roll out of bed and be able to walk to the bathroom. That was huge for me, because I literally got used to crawling to the bathroom in the middle of the night if I had to pee. And so those little things started changing, and I noticed it changing. And even though I didn't understand all the chemistry yet, didn't understand what was going on, but just decreasing those carbs and getting ketones in circulation and things like that. And then the next step, I was able to use nutritional ketosis, doing it Dr. Boz style, was to withdraw off the medications. So that was a big praise the Lord for Dr. Boz and the Lord to get me through it, and a husband now that supported me and took care of me through the withdrawal. It was awful. I'm not going to lie. It was awful, but I will tell you what got me through it was getting into nutritional ketosis. I was into a fasted state, and it would help the symptoms. It would help that withdrawal. So when I would get I felt like bugs were crawling on me. I would itch. I would just want to dig in my sleep, or I couldn't sleep, or I'd be just awake, and then I'd be out in jitters and shaky and nauseous, and The withdrawal was awful from Oxycontin, but I just slowly took it back, and the getting myself into ketosis and then working through that, I would back off some milligrams, let my body level out a minute, and I'd stay in ketosis or fast. And then I would push through again and drop down some more milligrams, get off, and I just kept that cycle going of getting into ketosis, fasting, and then I would draw off some more milligrams. Those things just took time. It took me months to do that, to get off of 120 milligrams of Oxycontin. And then after the Oxycontin, I did the Dilaudid. But that one wasn't as hard as the Oxy to me. So now, happy and praise the Lord, I am off all those medications. I've been off of them now for 4 years. I think it is a little over 4 years, and no desire to go look for them. No, I've had 7 shoulder surgeries in the last 2 years, and I've never once wanted to say, oh, I'm going to go take an Oxy because I hurt. No, no desire. So it's been such a blessing. And I think there is something different when you do the brain health along with the ketosis, is the win in that brain health. And I think that's what's got me through the withdrawal and what makes me not want it anymore, to get through that addiction. So, which takes us into Dr. Boz has her Magic Brains course it's called Brains of Addictions, or Brains from Trauma to Repair.
Well, let me ask you here. What do you do for fun? We're just going to put a freaking pause on that. Because I'm like, girl, let's just breathe for a minute. You are a freaking, can I just say, y'all, because I'm going to say it, motherfucking warrior. Girl, all that you've been through.
That's what it says.
All that you've been through. Do you just ever sit back and think, how did I ever make it? Or did you know that you were going to make it because of God's grace? Or you knew that you had to make it because of your children?
Yeah, I've always had an inner sense. I've been a mama since I was 17, had a baby on my hip. So, the determination that comes with that. But I was blessed. I finally stood up at the end of that and got a new outlook of life and said, you know what? I've taken care of everybody else my whole damn life. It's time for mama to go be happy. So literally I stood up and, and I now have my husband of my dreams, and our fun. We do this this is our fun. We live and breathe it. We take it with us on vacation. We take our tribe with us. It is helping and inspiring. I don't care if it's the mom, the dad, the cancer patient, diabetic. We truly love what we do, and it's just a blessing. My goal is to bring my hubby home so we can do it full time.
Amen, sister.
I love it.
Tell us about your husband then. I'm just going to get a little nosy here, right. A little girl talk. So did you guys meet like in the last 10 years? Did you guys meet locally, online, through a friend?
We grew up in a small town that everybody knows everybody. His mama was everybody's grade school teacher. Like literally, I think our town has 3,500 people. So we literally know everybody knows everybody. And we worked together 20 years ago. And sparks flew then. And of course, we were both married and had our own little lives going on. And when we got to that point of later on, he was already divorced. And it was that point of I'm sitting there with my husband, and we're kind of doing we were good at being mom and dad, but we sucked at being Tim and Tammie. And it was that moment when the kids all flew the coop and we sat there, and it was that moment of, you know what? I can be your buddy, but I need to go make mama happy. And we jumped and never looked back. And he's the love of my life. We've been together 10 years now, married 5, 6. But we love to travel together. We love doing all of this with our people. And he's my best friend. And I finally have that relationship that I always begged and wanted growing up.
Amen, sister.
Yeah, so I grew up and learned to set boundaries, and I learned to raise the bar of what I wanted and expected out of life, and quit blaming everybody else, and stood up and said, you know what? Yeah. Here's what I allowed.
Taking ownership and responsibility for your life.
We do our Monday night lives together. So our goal in that is to bring the men in as godly men and to be the leaders and lead the family, because what we find is we have the younger mamas that are trying to do it, that the husbands are just the third child, that mama has to fight for what's on the supper table. So we're trying to grow the men and say, you know what, you guys need to be the leaders. You shouldn't be the third child. You should be the leading of your family. Your wife should not have to fight this battle alone.
Right.
So we're growing the men right along with it. And I love it.
Oh, girl, I'm so glad that you and your husband, what's your husband's name?
Lance. Lance.
I'm so glad that you and Lance found each other and that you guys are doing this business together and that he's role modeling that men need to be leaders in their household and be supportive, right?
And I'm not afraid to say he is the leader. I do submit to him, and he is the godly leader of my home, and I trust him in that. You know, that's not he's over me. It's out of love and respect. He is the leader in the home. And, you know, I did it the first year through with Dr. Boz by myself. And I finally looked at him and it was like, I can't watch you eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on the couch every night with my grandma's favorite homemade jam while I'm trying to do this. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. And again, that's where I came up with I'm not doing this to fit my skinny jeans, and I'm doing this to save my life, and I need your support. And when I said it that way of, this wasn't just fun, this isn't a fad thing I'm going through, this isn't anything, I need your support to save my life because I want to be here to love you. It changed the whole game. It changed everything. And from that minute forward, I'm blessed. Very blessed.
Girl, I know you and I have to have a future conversation just talking about relationships, just relationships in general, because mine is the polar opposite. So me and my husband have been together for since I was 18 and a half and he was 20. And we have one child who's 37. And you know, you go through marriage, the honeymoon phase, you love each other, you have your kids or whatever, where you're still hot and spicy. And then all of a sudden, because of childhood trauma, because I didn't know how to work through issues, I take 50% of the responsibility. I'm just going to raise my hand and say I take half of the ownership. I'm not taking all of it, but I take half of it. So we bought our home 25 years ago. It was a new construction. You know, we're both working, hustling. And I made a decision that I love my husband, but I'm not in love with him. Right. So we're married on paper. We have different parts of our home that we live in. We're on completely opposite schedules. We don't do anything, Tammie. And I'm being full transparency. We don't do anything together. But
my husband that I left, I was married for almost 30 years.
Oh, my word.
It's the same thing. I was mom. It was.
No, but see, this is my choice to remain because financially it is better for us to stay together, right? And he's disabled, but he's out in the world doing his thing, right? And he's able to cook and clean up after himself. So realistically, I think it's better for him to have me and my dog in the house and a stable place to stay, yada, yada, yada. We're good together. And I always say that God could not have sent me a better man, right? Because it's like I'm a married single woman. I don't have to check in. I don't have to do this. I can travel. I can do all these things as though I were single. But we have the understanding that we're our own individual CEOs or whatever, right? So yeah, if I had a relationship where I had to check in and do everything together, girl, I'd be like, no, I can't do this. So it's good to be in partnership with the person that you were designed to be in partnership with. And I'm glad that you found somebody who supports you and is in business with you and who understands you. So that's a lovely thing. I just wanted to point that out. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is, I mean, that's just neat. And I think sometimes you learn to live those lives and do what's best. And if that's what's best for you at the moment, then, and if that changes, you'll walk it out. You know,
yes.
I mean, I was married for almost 30 years to Tim, and he's a good man, hard worker, good provider, all of that. But we didn't have that connection that I always longed for. And I come from a traumatic childhood too. So you come up with the issues and, you know, you grow up with what you think you want until you grow up enough to know what you want. And that wasn't quite it. What I wanted at 19 is not what I needed at 30.
At 40, 45, 50, I got you.
So you learn, you grow. All right. So what else?
So I'm gonna quit interjecting. You were about to talk about Dr. Boz, how you got affiliated with her and how you started coaching and how you can support clients or how you currently support clients, yada, yada, yada. So girl time to the side. You keep going, girl.
Okay. Okay, so when I found out with Dr. Boz, it was one of those I started through the keto continuum, was able to start reversing the neuropathy. It started getting better. My neuropathy is not gone, but I am walking around with flip-flops on with no pain meds in me, so I consider that a win. Now, if I'm out on a cement floor all day, I feel it. It hurts. I can't, it's still there, but it is so much better than it used to be. So move forward in that. Then the next step in that was the brains course. So Keto Continuum is 12 steps, a 12-step program, just like every other 12-step program, because we're breaking those addictions in the brain. And most of those addictions, for most of us that don't have perfect little childhoods and perfect little pasts, we're dealing with food addictions that have been stemmed back from our childhood. So as we learn to work through those and break those and work through the issue, I love this part of it because it's what, even in our beginner keto continuum course, we start building and talking about that it's like we get a journal out at the beginning and it's like, girlfriend, when you're looking for dopamine, you're going to go find it in something you love and enjoy instead of the food, instead of all those things. So we work through all that. We move into the intermediate. Then we get that chemistry rolling. We wake up those fat-based hormones. We get everything moving and get those numbers starting to progress and everything like that. But again, the journal still comes in. We're working on that brain health. We're breaking habits. Now we're building new habits. Now we're building a new neural pathway in the brain. We are trying to reestablish dopamine. We are trying to figure out what sparks you. And that's different for everybody. I always ask my mamas, what did you give up when you started taking care of everybody else besides yourself? What was the girlfriend? What was the Bible study? What was the hobby? What was whatever you had that you used to love, that we all give up, we all walked away from because life kicked you in the gut and started, and everybody became a priority but you. Then we work through that, we get that going, but that helps your chemistry. That helps you understand, I don't need to turn to the brownies for support. I don't need a bowl of cereal on the couch every night because it's been a rough day. I don't need, the fruit basket. I don't need a Stanley full of fruit smoothies all day long. And you work through those. But then you move into the advanced, which is the fasting where the autophagy hits in. And we do weekly 72 fasts. I'm coming off of one right now. I love it because this is when my brain kicks back in, all that brain damage from the 18 years of Oxycontin. This is when my brain feels good again. This is when I feel energy again. I feel alive again. I love fasting. People think I'm crazy, but I love these 72s. Yep. See, I love it. And it's just those points of people think it's nuts. And I did too. I remember at the beginning of Dr. Boz's course, and I'm like, I'll do the stupid course. I'll remove the foods and everything, but I will die if I fast. I will be flopping on the ground like a fish, dying if I fast because I can't go more than 2 hours without eating. My fruit smoothie wears out and I need to go make another one, kind of thing. So learning to move forward in that, but then learning the chemistry shift of when you're fat adapted, and most people, they'll fast to get into ketosis. We get into ketosis too fast. And there is a difference in that chemistry shift. So getting into ketosis first, then fasting, we're fat adapted. The fat hormones can carry me through. God knows I got enough fat living on me. I'm not starving, those kind of things. So as I work through that and can hit that autophagy and building new cells and repairing my brain, ketones in circulation, those are how I'm healing one thing at a time. I'm no longer in heart failure. I'm no longer total neuropathy. I'm no longer no seizures anymore. I'm off the ADHD medication. There's just all anxiety, depression, all those medications. I'm off everything. The only thing I'm still on is I have one pill. Last year I had a heart attack. So chemo did damage to my heart. Or 2 years ago I had a heart attack. Chemo did damage to my heart and I had a heart attack. But they went in, my cardiologist fixed everything, put me back together and says, go home and do exactly what you're doing because it just saved your life. So that was a blessing. So we're moving forward in that. I'm on one that keeps my heart rate regular. That's it. Little baby aspirin. And that's all I'm on. So it works out good. We move forward in that. And after you get through that part, then it goes into the advanced levels of Dr. Boz's brains course. It's brains of addiction and from trauma to repair. And I love it. It's my favorite course to teach because there's something in it for everybody. It goes through being, having brain damages of all sorts, whether it's our kids that we have, they're growing a healthy hippocampus and their brains are full too much sugar, whether it's you had a TBI when you were a kid and had the brain damage that never healed, whether it's the college kids that we're sending off that party on the weekends, but make it to class all day. And it takes 6 months for that brain to start healing again after a hangover. all those things, and you move forward and you see the brains of a meth addict and brains of a marijuana person, you brains of a person on prescription medications. You see all those brains and they look awful. You know, they just look like big holes in them that we wonder how any of us know our own name. And then you get to the end of it, and I love it because she shows a brain on carbs and sugar. And it is just as bad, just as holy, just as much gray matter in it as the meth addict and the heroin addict and the alcoholic and all of it. So when you get to see what all those things are doing and realizing carbs and sugar are socially acceptable and almost harder for people to break because it is so socially acceptable, that the damage is the same. You know, the damage is still there. So nutritional ketosis, to heal any of that, you've got to get your body in nutritional ketosis. And we know that because we check our ketones, we check our glucose, and we check our DBR every morning, first thing when you wake up, which is the number that you go by on. Am I in an inflammatory state today, or am I in a healing mode? And my goal is to have everybody in a healing mode every morning. So.
Oh my gosh, girl, you are a breath of fresh air. Sharing your life experience as well as turning that around and continuing to share and help others in their journey. So how can people reach out to you other than your website? Where can they find you? Because your Journey to Keto, which we see here, and I understand that you have built a new website or something and you guys are still working out the kinks, but everybody still needs to go there and visit it. But how else can they reach you on social media, Tammie?
On social media, I am Tammie Laubacher on Facebook. That's my personal page. Then my business page is Journey to Healing, Health, Home, and Beauty. So we try to teach you how to incorporate all this into your home. We do this with 4 generations in our family. So what do we do when the kids come over? We got one set of kids that do it, one set that don't. So we try to combine all that and show you how we navigate that as grandparents now. You know, I don't have all the say anymore. I'm not the mama, I'm the nana now. So we do that. And then on Instagram, I'm Journey to Healing with Tammie on Instagram. On YouTube, we're Healthy Families Begin at Home. So we're there, and the website is journeytoketo.com. And on that platform now, you can go in and sign in for the memberships. And we do the coaching in monthly increments of it's 4 weeks at the beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And you can progress as your speed goes, as your chemistry goes, as your willpower goes. Then we don't bump you ahead until your chemistry is ready. So we work you through, we take you through step by step. And we have a free live support group every Monday night at 7 that's on YouTube and Zoom.
So a free live support group on Mondays. So if people follow Dr. Boz or some other influencers or leaders in this industry, do you think that they can make progress as well?
Absolutely.
Or do they need to be coached?
Here's the difference in it is I think there's so much good information. I mean, I love me some good Dr. Barry, some Benazotti, you know, there's Dr. Mindy. There are so many good doctors out there, but here's what sold me and was the difference for me. I was trying to listen to all the YouTube videos. I was trying to bring it all together. The checklist of the step by step, because my brain was broken. I was not able to go I need to get my carbs down, and then I need to worry about getting enough fats in me. And then am I hitting enough protein? I didn't have the bandwidth in my brain to put all that together right then. To have somebody that gave me a checklist of, okay, now you move forward. When you're here and you know how good your chemistry is, now you move forward. And I checked it and I documented it and we did it, and you walk it out. So the win for me, and for most people I find, yes, there's a million good doctors. It's getting bigger and bigger out there. And I love that these doctors are stepping out from behind the medical practice curtain, and that's a risk on all of their license. So kudos to all of them for putting that work out, you know, because that's not easy on them to step out from that curtain too of protection. So I applaud them. I fell in love because she's the one that helped me and taught me a step. She taught me the step by step journey of taking me through it when I was broken. I wasn't okay. I wasn't healthy. My brain couldn't follow through. I loved having it.
Amen. Amen. Now, let me ask you one thing, because we got to close out in about 2 minutes. One thing. So if there's a person that's like 50 years old, say she's a sister friend like you and me, she's sitting on the couch. She's been beat up, Tammie, just by life. Just in general, she's been on 60,000 diets, as most of us have in our lifetime, right? And she's trying to wonder at 50 years old, should she give a new way of life, another shot? Or is she just going to be beat down? Right? So what would you say to that, sister friend?
I would say there is a sisterhood in this. First of all, girlfriend, I know you've taken care of everybody in your life but you. You've loved everybody around you for your whole damn life. It is now time to take care of you. It is time to love yourself as much as you love everybody around you. Now turn that insert, and it's going to be feel like the most selfish thing you've ever done, but I'm telling you, it is the most freeing, I feel more godly. I feel more productive. I feel more caring to the people that I get to love on, because I get to love me first. And that's so hard as a mama. So at 50 years old, absolutely, you got the second half of your life and you're going to do it right. You're going to learn from the mistakes. We're no dummies at this age. We're good by this age. We got it. My brain is totally different than I was at 19. What I want, what I'm not afraid to set a boundary. I'm not afraid to raise the bar. I'm not afraid to be what God has called me to be. So take my hand. I got you.
Oh, girl, you just sent another chill or two down my spine. And I ditto that, and I applaud that, and I hug you virtually for that. So Tammie, again, like I said, we're going to have a future conversation just strictly about relationships and maybe even childhood trauma if you ever want to venture there. I'm very candid with mine because I believe they can help another soul to understand that these eating disorders don't just appear out of nowhere. A lot of times they come from something, or society, or even a best girlfriend that you saw throwing up and you're like, oh, I'm too fat. Whatever it is, you can probably pinpoint it at some time, right? So
I would love it.
All right, guys, you heard it here first, Miss Tammie. And I think we're going to become besties because she's just a year older than I am. I think we're going to become virtual besties.
I love it.
Anyway, this is Rose AJ closing out with the Carnivore Connection and with another wonderful interview. Thank you so much.